Hello guys, just a little stream before dinner. I'm helping out the guildie with some missions, or a mission at least.
Yarrow, Ashes of Fealty, by James Swallow. Performed by Jonathan Keeble and Toby Longworth. The long iron hall was filled with shadows. In the echoing space, nothing human moved. No one had the courage to enter for fear of what lay beyond. No one dared to set foot inside to take a breath of the air within and challenge fortune. At least, no man dared.
Captain, please, no, wait!
I will not! But these were not men. They towered over common humans, these scions of battle. Once, both of them had been proud to stand amongst the Emperor's Legiones Astartes. Brothers in conflict, comrades against adversity. Now, fate had set them upon separate paths. One was clad in war gear the color of storms, adorned with a golden eagle cuirass, his helm mag-locked at his waist, and his sword at his back. Nathaniel Garrow, knight-errant and Agentia Primus of the Regent of Terra. The other, a former warrior stripped of his armor, weapons, and the desire for war. Merrick Voyan in his robes, once an apothecary of the Death Guard Legion, and now a soul in search of peace.
Stop! I beg of you, let me explain!
Nothing you say will sway me!
Nathaniel!
Garrow looked down at the hand that Voyan had placed on his vambrace, a warning flashing in his eyes. Step back, brother. Now!
Hear me out.
There is no explanation you can voice, Merrick. I am disappointed in you.
I have not done this for your approval, my captain. I did it for a greater good, for our battle brothers and our legion.
The Death Guard are no longer our legion. They broke that faith when Mortarion turned against the Emperor.
We can bring them back. I can bring them back.
With that? Garrow turned and gestured tersely toward the only object in the hall. A heavy cylindrical cryo casket made of steel and armor glass. A harvest of poisoned dregs and foul detritus.
How does one cure a disease, Nathaniel? First, you must capture the virus, analyze it, conquer it. Only then can a vaccine be feasible.
The warrior sneered. A vaccine? We do not speak of some malady to be treated by balms and potions. You cannot recover from this corruption. I have seen it, at close quarters and with my murder in its fangs. I have looked this foulness in the eye and glimpsed the true shade of its hatred.
You are not alone in that. I was on the Eisenstein too, remember? I know what happened to Grulgor and Decius. I saw the pestilence that overtook their bodies.
Silence stretched between them. It seemed like an eon had passed since they had fled to Terra, bringing word of the War Master Horus and his bloody betrayal at Istvan III. Garrow and Voyan and Decius, Hakor, Cruz and the rest of the 70, who dared to oppose their primarchs when all loyalty to Terra had been burned to ashes. In the aftermath, amidst the airless wastes of Luna, they had awaited an uncertain fate. Warriors orphaned by their traitor kinsmen, trusted by few, feared by many. In that silence, their brother, Solon Decius, had been taken by the same insidious taint that even now was undoubtedly corrupting the rest of their legion. Garrow had killed Decius, out there in the Sea of Crises, and perhaps, in the act, the battle captain had known that he had been spared for something greater. Voyan saw something different that day, though. A sickness that he could not turn away from. The apothecary surrendered his birthright as a space marine and dedicated his existence to finding what Garrow now thought impossible.
A cure. I believe it exists. It must.
No matter how hard you wish for it, Merrick, believe me when I tell you that it does not. Now, get out of my way or I will put you aside by force. Garrow pushed past his comrade and strode toward the dais and support frame upon which the casket rested.
You cannot know that!
What I know is that corruption is absolute. It is subtle and constant.
Do you see that in me, my lord?
You kept something from me once before, brother. Your membership in the lodges. At Garrow's mention of the covert gatherings instigated by Horus's legion, Voyan hesitated. Guilt soured his expression.
I have atoned for my mistake. I forswore that clandestine pact when I learned that they were the tool of the War Master's perfidy.
Indeed. But still, you kept all of this from me as well. You began your work in secret and hid it from the world. Why? Is it because you knew what I would do when I learned of it?
I did not think you would understand. I am a man of science, and I think in such terms, but you are...
I am what? Do you think me a credulous fool? You know me better than that. Voyan eyed his former commander.
You have always put great stock in the numinous. I believe only in what I can see and touch and know.
Garrow hesitated before the steel blue cylinder. I have faith, brother. But that does not mean I have abandoned reason. It is you who cannot see clearly. You cling to the truth you were born with, that this is a rational universe of immutable laws. You tell yourself you could understand all of existence if only the structure of it were visible to you. But that is a falsehood.
Then what do you say is true?
The truth is that we live on the surface of a great maelstrom, populated by powers we can only begin to comprehend. That we must oppose them unto death, on that point, you and I fully agree. But if your only compass is the lucid and the possible, then you have already lost. The arch-enemy lies beyond human constructs like reason and logic. To fight them, to beat them, we must see past the veil.
If I can save the lives of the Death
You
Guard...
cannot save their souls. It is already too late for that. The warrior studied the container. Through misted glassy panels, a dark grey mass of particulate matter was visible. It resembled volcanic ash, clumps of it accreting around objects that might have been fragments of mutant bone or distorted chitin. It was all that remained of the ground where Solon Decius, transformed into the monstrous Lord of Flies, had perished. Where he fell, Decius's ashen remains polluted the lunar surface like a toxic spill. In any other place but the moon's magnificent desolation, the residue of death would have spread like a canker. And now that material had been scooped up and gathered here for transit off-world. Where did you hope to take this?
Io, the Jovian installation. There is a facility there that rides atop the sulfur oceans. It belongs to a faction of the Magos Biologis, who rejected the rebellion of Mars. We could examine the remains there, in safety.
How many men died to gather it all?
7 men perished in the recovery process, each from a different chimeric disease vector. They were dead before we could get them to an infirmary.
And still you wonder why I came to stop you. When Voyan spoke again, his manner was different. Something had changed in him now, with almost a beseeching tone to his words.
You left us behind, Nathaniel. Those who remained of the 70. You went away and you were given purpose, but not the rest of us. Not I. So, I forged my own. We legionaries are functionally immortal, are we not? Away from battle and threat of death, we might live for millennia. So, I chose to rededicate my existence to finding a cure for that hideous living death that took our former kinsmen.
He met Garrow's piercing gaze.
I need this purpose. Without it, I am only the cast-off son of a traitor legion. Lost and forgotten, distrusted and maligned. I have no knight's armor, no sanction from Malcador the Sigillite. I have only my hope. You understand that, don't you?
I understand. More than you can know, my old friend. And that is why, for the final time, I refuse you. This must end here.
If you do this, there will be no chance of redemption. You will doom the Death Guard name to live in infamy for thousands of years.
It is our Gene-Father, Lord Mortarion, who made that choice, Merrick, not I. The shadows were at their heaviest here. Thick curtains of night dark, that made the wide space of the hall seem enclosed and oppressive. As Garrow reached for the casket, he felt the flesh on the back of his neck prickle. That innate war sense, bred into him through the gene works of the legions, came alive. An intuition he could not name, an animal impulse warning him of a danger as yet unrevealed. His armored fingers touched the curved lid, and he knew that something was amiss. There, along the seam that held the casket closed, the thick brass maglocks that should have each been sealed tight were hanging wide, the latches like slack jaws. It is open.
What? That's impossible.
Suddenly, the air tasted of fetor and rancid meat. A wave of slaughterhouse stench and decay arose, potent enough to curdle the air in Garrow's lungs and repulse even a legionary's constitution. He took an involuntary step backwards, though some instinct made him reach out towards the black, shadow-wreathed stanchion supporting the casket. Light moved strangely upon the iron pillars, almost as if it were being absorbed by the dark. And Garrow had the sudden sense that the unnatural shadows he saw were not falling from the play of illumination and shade. Darkness coated everything in a fathomless slick. His fingers scraped at the metal and encountered thousands of tiny, chitinous forms, clustered so densely together that they were a thick, black mantle. The shadows are flies! Hidden in the gloom, the silent, unmoving insects now exploded into horrible, freakish life. Their tiny mutant wings were sharper than razors, their warp-tainted mandibles wet with acidic venom, and they craved warm flesh and spilled blood.
Damn! What in terror's name?
Back! Get back!
Where did these things come from? There was no living organic matter in the ashes. They could not have come from the casket. This chamber was hermetically sealed. Nothing can get in or out.
They came from the Immaterium, born out of madness and corruption. Do you not see now, Merrick? This is the nature of the enemy.
The warp.
Aye. He shoved Voyan towards the heavy airlock hatch behind them. Go. You are unprotected. These things will feast on the meat of you, make your body a nest for their maggot hatchlings. We cannot let the swarm move beyond this chamber. Now, go! And seal the door behind you. Garrow's former comrade nodded, but he could not take his eyes off the casket. Of its own accord, the metallic cylinder was cracking open, and a torrent of newborn flies flooded out, filling the air with a hurricane of glistening wings.
Captain, you can't fight them with a sword.
Let me worry about that. Voyan stepped over the threshold, and Garrow slammed his mailed fist into the hatch controls. The meter-thick barrier of solid plasteel slid into place and locked shut. Garrow reached down and donned his sharp-snouted battle helm, securing it against a dithering cloud of carnivorous flies. Through an armor-glassed portal, Garrow saw Voyan's face looking back at him from the safety of the corridor beyond. The apothecary's aspect was that of a man shaken by a truth he did not wish to face.
I warned you. This is what the enemy is capable of. And when we try to fight them on a battleground of reason, they shift the sands beneath us. We are at war with the impossible.
He marched into the storm of flies, but did not draw his power sword. Voyan was right. Even with the weapon's energy-charged edge, Garrow would only destroy a handful of the swarming horde. He had a different manner of attack in mind. With each step closer to the casket, the density of the flies increased. He heard the scratch and snap of thousands of microscopic fangs biting into the ceramite sheath of his armor. The flies chewed at the flex joints, trying to pierce to the plasteel beneath. They clogged the breather slits of his faceplate with a wet paste of their own crushed bodies. His helmet's glowing eye slits drew them in like moths to a flame, blinding him. Step by step, Garrow felt his way back to the casket on the dais. A colossal mass of flies crawled and writhed across the steel surface, acid sizzling from their maws. For a moment, the warrior thought he heard the echo of Sol and Decius' warped laughter in the buzzing of their wings. Garrow opened a Vox channel.
This is Captain Garrow. Execute emergency protocol. Open the doors.
Garrow activated the magnetic pads on the soles of his boots and tensed. The blank bulkhead at the far end of the hall shuddered, and then, in the manner of a magician's trick, it became a series of great panels that shifted on hidden rails, retreating back into the walls. A blinding yellow-orange inferno was suddenly revealed, blazing beyond the retracting doors. The turbulent surface of Sol, Terra's great sun. The tainted atmosphere inside the compartment was immediately blown out into the vacuum beyond. And with it went the swarm. The mutant insects were simultaneously flash-frozen and burnt to a crisp, and even their warp-tainted origins were not enough to save them from the titanic power of the star. Crimson warning runes lit up across every readout visible to the Legionary, as the temperature inside the compartment rose to terrifying ranges. The heat burned off the dead flies and scorched Garrow's grey armor a dull black. He felt it beat at him, boiling him alive. With effort, he reached for the casket and took hold. When Captain Garrow had come aboard the ship after learning of Merrick Voyan's ill-advised scheme, his first act had been to order the vessel's commander to divert course, away from Io and Jupiter, directly towards the sun. Now, nothing lay before him and the oblivion of the solar furnace. Garrow tore the casket from its support with a snarl of exertion and lifted it high. Then, marshalling all the potency of his gen-hanced musculature and the power armor that encased him, he hurled it through the open hatchway and into the grasp of the star.
Garrow to bridge. Close it. It is done.
From the corridor beyond, Voyan saw Garrow standing amongst the trace ashes of the burned swarm, and the horror of true understanding at last came to him. All his hopes to search out a cure for the Death Guard's malaise and save his brethren, this need that defined him, it was in vain. For if Garrow was right, if this new war was a thing of demonic powers and foul magics as much as guns and blades,
How can a rational soul face that?
Voyan felt his throat tighten and a sudden burning in his blood. A stinging sensation made the flesh of his forearm twitch, and he pulled back the cuff of his robes. There, on his skin, was the reddening mark of an insect bite. And, already forming, a trio of tiny sores. The Horus Heresy, Garrow, Burden of Duty, by James Swallow.
Hello, Sane. I've tried it for maybe 2 hours or something. My main focus is PvE.
Species turned beneath a haze of ash. The surface pockmarked by colossal city sprawls and hive plexes. It was a clenched fist of iron and stone, and from it rose spindly orbital elevator towers and the thruster trails of heavy transports. The planet was haloed by platforms and way stations of varying size and complexity, littering the low orbit and the gravity null clusters of the Lagrange points. Ships crossed between them like motes of mercury over black velvet, engine exhausts glowing. A shroud of ever-moving armor turned about Terra. constructs as large as continents drifting as if they were gargantuan metal clouds. Some were gunnery complexes, little more than free-floating weapons aimed outwards into the void, like cannons atop ancient castle battlements. Others were command and control facilities, staging posts, shipyards and star docks bristled with battle vessels of every mark and tonnage.
Yeah, I guess that's
With new weapons.
something to think about as well. If
Private habitats of imperial nobles and dignitaries.
I can always enable
Even their
PvP
exalted
later, so
did not protect them from the order of fortification. No one was exempt from the diktat that the Emperor had handed down. Terra was on a war footing, donning her chainmail and sharpening her blades. Watching. Waiting. Out, past the orbit of Luna, secondary and tertiary lines of defense were already in place. Fields of autonomous cannon drones and sensor webs floated in the darkness. Asteroids
right now I'm
drifted
just
by
waiting
tens
for
of
the Ember Vale server to go online so I can try out Unreal Engine client.
portcullis groups. They prepared for the day they knew would come. The day when the sky would brim with the battle fleets of Horus Lupercal's rebellion. The turncoat war master, first among equals of the Emperor's Primarch sons, had never let his gaze fall from Terra. The planet was more than just the spiritual heart of the Imperium. More than the capital world and origin point of mankind. Pragmatic tacticians could say that a successful war against the Emperor might never even need to reach the light of Sol. But no one truly believed that it would not. Horus would come here. This was his father's house. If he did not burn it or claim it for himself, then he could never claim that ultimate victory. This the Emperor knew full well, and so he made ready. The architect of the fortification was one seemingly born to such a task. Rogal Dorn, most steadfast and unswerving of the Emperor's sons, Primarch of the 7th Legionis Astartes, the Imperial Fists. It was said that Dorn was the greatest master of defensive strategy in the galaxy, and that a stronghold designed by the Fists could never be breached. Horus would put that claim to the test. Dorn oversaw the great reinforcement effort from his flagship and star fortress, the mighty Phalanx. The size of a small moon, it was forced to remain clear of Terra's shipping lanes, for fear that its great mass would exert a tidal pull on the lesser orbitals. Standing sentinel over the ongoing work of the defenses, the Star Fortress was a grand artifice of gold. Ramparts and towers, cathedral-like halls and acres of domes covered its flanks. Phalanx was not only the flagship of the 7th Legion, but also their home, with room for hundreds of thousands of warriors and support serviles in its habitat tiers. Lines of military traffic and freighters dotted the approaches to the fortress, a complex dance of starships moving back and forth under Dawn's supreme command. And among them, lost in the mess of Auspex returns and radiation backscatter, a small shuttle pod crept closer on stealth-cowled engines. The ship was barely worthy of the name. No bigger than a land speeder, the shuttle pod carried only a single occupant, a rudimentary drive system, and auto-navigator. What other space remained inside the seamless, scan-resistant hull was packed with sensor baffles and reflex shield devices. Craft such as this were typically deployed by Imperial agents or the killers of the Officio Assassinorum. But in this instance, the passenger was of a markedly different intent. The pod spiraled in towards the hull of the Phalanx. Autonomic systems waiting until the last possible second to fire braking thrusters to slow its approach. Magna grapples extended and drew the pod the last short span toward a service hatch and locked on. Stealth protocols ran from the craft's cogitators, misdirecting the docking sensors and masking the unscheduled arrival. The window of opportunity was only a few moments, but it was enough. Unnoticed by the Imperial Fists, an intruder had boarded their vessel. A ghost by any other name. Its sole function completed, the shuttle pod disengaged and drifted away, blending back into the clutter of the space lanes. The lone passenger risked a single communication, a burst transmission message encrypted on a deep-level Vox channel. There would be no reply. One signal alone was enough to chance detection.
I'm on board. Proceeding with mission.
The warrior let the long shadow conceal him, the bulk of his ghost-grey power armor half hidden in the gloom. He wore a large, thin robe of metallic material over the armor, giving him the look of a monastic figure out of old legend. Pulling it close, he activated a device sewn into the sleeve, and the surface of the robe shimmered. He became a glassy sketch, a shape disrupted as if seen through a rain-slick window pane. The technology was rare and fragile, but the falsehood could shroud even an armored giant from a passing observer. Beneath the hood, Nathaniel Garrow grimaced. He did not approve of such clandestine acts, but he had no other choice. He was here on the direct command of Malkador the Sigillite, the Regent of Terra. Once a battle captain of the Death Guard Legion, Garrow had long since forsworn that status to become what some called a knight-errant.
Hello,
Malkador's covert
AF.
agents amidst the turmoil of galactic civil war.
Well, not until I actually meet proper Fire, Frost, or Shadow.
To point when the eyes of crew serfs or Imperial
Although-
Fist legionaries turned away.
Yeah, so I'm not
crossed
really
the wall of victories, following the lines of the
needing to do
statue
that
guards,
yet
the gallery of heroes.
when leveling up.
He had been aboard the Phalanx.
Except if I fight fire elementals that are on the same level, I guess.
Garrow had been a guest
or
of the
something.
7th Legion, plucked from certain death by Rogal Dorn himself. It sat poorly with him that his return came under a shroud of secrecy. The corridors and chambers of the flagship were magnificent works of functional, martial architecture. Heavy with banners from
Hello,
100,000 victories, lined with
How are you
works of
doing
art that celebrated
this
Dorn's
morning?
Legion and the high ideals of
Or
the
maybe even
They were
lunch for you now?
glorious sight.
No.
Garrow had no time to admire them. For the duration of this mission, he considered himself in enemy territory and would act accordingly. The only exception he had made to his usual preparation was to come bearing only his sword, Libertas. Garrow had left his bolt gun behind. It signified that he would not, could not, shed blood in the prosecution of this duty. But if he were discovered now, he doubted that the Imperial Fists would extend him the same consideration. Careful to remain unseen by his fellow legionaries, Garrow let the falsehood and his training carry him slowly and carefully into the inner halls of the vast starfort. The warrior's objective lay deep inside Phalanx, on the lower decks toward the flagship's gargantuan engine cores. The chamber was known only as the Seclusion. A huge oval gate, titanium blue and ringed with locking devices, rose up before him. Garrow's eyes caught the symbol etched into the metal above the latch, a mailed fist against a white disc, the emblem of the 7th Legion. Rogal Dorn himself had struck that sign when this door had been closed, and if Garrow opened it, it would be Dorn that he defied. Inside the sealed chamber, behind walls of dead green
yeah,
black
it seems
and
I have
psychic
double.
countermeasures from the dark age of technology, the Primarch of the Imperial Fists had willfully imprisoned a cadre of his own sons. They had committed no crime, done nothing to dishonor their brethren. These were steadfast warriors taken from frontline battle duties, men ordered to disarm and stand down by the father of their legion. They were Imperial Fists, somber and steadfast in character, and to every last degree Dorn's true sons. Yet, they had accepted their Primarch's command without question. The only offense that these legionaries had committed was to be cursed with the gifts of the warp. Lexicanium, codicia, or epistolary, they were the battle brothers of the Librarius, trained to use the power of their minds as a weapon. The Emperor's passing of the edict, after the conclave on Nicaea, had ended that service in a single moment. In the wake of the sorcerer Primarch Magnus the Red's dalliances with the mercurial powers of the warp, their weapons had been denied to them.
I'm not sure why this is happening.
Forbade all use of psionic powers among the legions, and now Dorn's librarians spent their long days in quiet meditation, isolated from their kinsmen and their future uncertain. Garrow reached into a pouch on his belt, removing a device that Malcador himself had pressed into his hands.
Okay, can I make anything
The
now?
origin of the small crystalline object was unknown to him, but Garrow could not entirely banish the feeling that it was somehow alien. When he had questioned the Regent of Terra
Heavy
on that
grinding
suspicion,
stone.
Malcador had said nothing, merely holding him in that steady, cold gaze. The device began its work, the seals holding the gate shut opening in swift order under its influence. But the action did not go unnoticed.
In the Legion's name, halt and identify.
Hidden alcove spun to reveal a pair of armored gun servitors in the yellow livery of the Fists. The machine slaves dithered, struggling to track the cloaked warrior. Garrow did not give them time to target him. He gave the servitors no opportunity to raise the alarm before he attacked. Their neural cords severed, the mindless machines stumbled and crashed to the deck. Leaving them where they fell, Garrow turned back to the gate as the last of the seals disengaged. Brother Massac was dreaming. He did not sleep, for the bio-implants of the Legionis Astartes ended the need for such a thing. But he did dream. In the strange mind space of his meditations as his thoughts turned in upon themselves, and he contemplated his fate.
What?
In the darkness, he sometimes saw glimpses of things that appeared unreal, ethereal. Skies black with warships, creatures beyond the alien, warped and monstrous. War burning the galaxy from spiral arm to core. Time had become meaningless to Massac and the other psykers. Isolated from the universe at large, the passage of weeks into months and months into years had fallen away until there was only the now. Massac was ready to wait as long as his Primarch wished him to, contained within this chamber.
Crap, I need
That
more
was his
mithril.
duty.
When the Imperium needs us, he will come. When the time is right, Dawn will return for us.
The words came from nowhere, but the conviction beneath them seemed transient. None among the isolated librarians had given voice to any doubts about their confinement, but a bitter thought buried deep in Massac's mind threatened to rise to the surface. What if Dawn did not return?
The seclusion gate.
Brother Massac's mind snapped back to wakefulness as he rose swiftly from his pallet. Something was awry. He sensed the flicker and fade of the gun servitors as the
Okay,
dim
let's
candles of their
send a
minds were
gift
struck out,
to...
and then the hazy shape of another psyche. One hidden behind hard walls of counter-telepathic training and rigid thought. It could only be a legionary,
Oh, I didn't
but the
know.
identity of the warrior was impossible to grasp.
ATSW, I can check it
Call
out.
upon his powers to push deeper would be to violate the decree. Instead, he found a handful of his kindred and called them to arms.
Something is wrong. The gates should not open so readily. This must be some sort of attack.
Massac turned to see a grey armored figure appear as the falsehood fell to the deck. He was haloed by the glow from the corridor beyond, a power sword crackling in his grip. The librarian's weapon of choice was a force axe, two curved blades of psychically resonant metal forming the killing edges. It was in his hand in a heartbeat, and at his side his brothers drew their swords and force rods.
You wear no colors or sigil, intruder. Give me your name and legion. Surrender your sword.
And if I do not, those weapons in your hands are but cold metal without your psionic power to charge them.
They will be enough.
Come with me, and we need not cross blades at all.
You do not command us. Now surrender your sword.
I do not wish to fight you, but I will not give up my weapon.
Then you will pay for your trespass.
Massac and his battle brothers advanced upon the intruder, launching a string of connected attacks that were each met and parried. The librarian tried to find the measure of the warrior. He moved with fractional hesitance, betraying the presence of an augmetic replacement limb, but he was not slow. His great power sword deflected Massac's own weapon and forced the librarian back a step. The Nameless One had the scarred face of a hardened battle veteran, and the prowess to match it. The Imperial fists were 4 to his 1, but he held them at bay with unparalleled focus and skill. Massac grimaced, advancing. He let his brothers move in a swift feint, and then he struck, swinging the axe hard. Their blades met and locked, sparks flying. Massac glared at the intruder, searching his expression for some understanding of why he was here.
Who are you?
Despite his iron self-control, in the melee, some tiny fraction of Massac's preternatural power brushed across the mind of his opponent. A flash of insight came to him, the briefest glimpse of why the legionary had come to...
Hello, Tamara. Hello there. Again.
Within reach. Cease! The moment broke like brittle glass as a new force entered the chamber. The burning, stony mind of a warlord. Hard as granite, radiating cold fire. It eclipsed everything else. A silent inferno of pure will.
By my command, put up your weapons.
Rogal Dorn filled the chamber with the great weight of his presence. His aura the very echo of the mailed fist upon his ornate armor. Flanked by his Huskarls, the Primarch of the Imperial Fists threw his stormy gaze across the psykers and watched them each sink to one knee, bowing their heads. Massac followed suit, as did the grey-armored intruder. Dorn was a son of the Emperor, a walking fortress of a man, more invincible and unyielding than any construct of stone and steel. Few could have the courage to meet his gaze without flinching, but to Massac's surprise, the veteran warrior did so. Well met, Lord Dorn. Something like surprise flickered briefly on the face of Massac's master.
Nathaniel Garrow. I wondered if our paths might cross again. Did he send you?
With all due respect, my lord, I believe you already know the answer to that question. Dorn's eyes narrowed, and he gestured to one of his men.
Take him to my chambers. I will have words with this one.
Massac watched Garrow sheath his blade and walk away in custody. As he crossed the seclusium threshold, he threw Massac a nod.
What? I don't have salt shore.
Respect, perhaps.
Oops.
The librarian turned and found the Primarch studying him.
Your isolation should not have been disturbed. Those responsible will be punished. Return to your meditation. The gate will be secured once more.
Master.
Dorn halted, but did not turn back to face him.
My lord, if I might ask of you, how goes the Great Crusade?
The Primarch was silent for a long moment. The question, the real question, hung unspoken in the air between them.
When may we return to our legion?
Matters have become complicated. It is a crusade no longer. A war now. A war of brutal dimension and great sorrow.
We stand ready to serve.
I know you do, my son. I know.
Garrow looked around, taking in the scope of the Primarch's Sanctorum once again. The ornate chambers atop the highest of the Phalanx's towers commanded an impressive view of the Star Fortress. The wide oval space seemed now like an arena, and he a sacrifice sent to perish upon its azure floor. He sensed a presence behind him.
Do you recall what happened the last time we stood together in this room?
I watched the Eisenstein meet its end.
After that?
Garrow stiffened. It had been here that he had first revealed to Dorn the facts of Horus's betrayal. His reaction had been that of any loving brother. First denial, and then great anger, severe enough that Garrow had feared for his life. Considering his words carefully, he turned to face the Primarch. I brought you a hard truth. The burden of my duty...
As I recall, you asked me if I was blind. And perhaps I was. But no longer. I see clearly now. I must, so that my duty can be completed. The Emperor has charged me with the defense of Terra and command of all his armies. That is my burden. I am now War Master in all but name.
Dawn loomed over him, his eyes glittering like shards of flint.
I know what you are, Garrow. I know of Malcador's plans and his secret endeavors. I know that you and that old wolf Cruz are now his agents. The Sigillite uses you to gather material and to recruit men, many of them psykers, for reasons as yet unrevealed. And all of it in apparent defiance of the Emperor's commands.
The Primarch's heavy gauntlets closed into fists.
That ghost armor you wear, with Malcador's brand upon your shoulder. It may give you leave to go where you wish elsewhere in the Imperium, but not here. The Phalanx belongs to the 7th. You do not come to my domain in stealth and expect no censure. You will explain yourself to me.
He raised his hand to point at Garrow.
Or this time, I will not hold back when I strike you.
I mean no disrespect, my lord. But my mission cannot be revealed, even to you.
You owe your life to me, Garrow. It was the Imperial Fist that rescued you and your men from deep space. You were adrift and facing certain death. Have you forgotten that so readily?
I forget nothing, my lord. True enough, I know the full weight of the debt I owe you, but my duty to the Sigillite is greater still.
What duty can require you to steal aboard my ship like a thief, break my commands, and disturb those whom I hold in isolation? We have already recovered your pod, Garrow. How are you going to escape? What did you want with the librarians? You will answer me.
Garrow breathed deeply, steeling his courage to openly defy the Primarch. I regret that I cannot, my lord. For a long moment, Garrow feared that Dawn would make good on his threat and strike him to the deck. But then, the Primarch stepped back, his aloof rage simmering.
I do not accept your refusal. You will remain a prisoner aboard Phalanx until such time as you decide to provide me with the answers I have demanded. Here you will stay, if need be, until the stars themselves burn cold.
Before he could summon his guards to escort Garrow away, the Sanctorum's doors opened of their own accord.
Master, forgive my intrusion, but I must speak with you.
Brother Massac, I did not grant you permission to leave the Seclusium. Return there at once.
I shall. But first, I must beg this audience with you. The intruder, Garrow. I know why he is here.
Dawn's narrow gaze turned its full, withering power on his son.
Explain yourself.
I can sense the truth he is hiding. It lurks beneath the surface of his thoughts. With your permission, I can reveal it.
The Primarch's arms folded across his golden chestplate.
You dare suggest the use of psychic power? You know better than any Imperial Fist that my father forbids it!
But even as he said the words, Garrow saw the conflict in Dawn's eyes. Even as he knew he was honor-bound to follow the Emperor's edict, he could never ignore the great value of a psyker as a weapon of war in the arsenal of the legions.
He can hide nothing from me, Master. If only you will allow me to put Garrow to the question. I will not defy the Edict of Nicaea.
But you will. Even the smallest exercise of warp-born power is defiance. It opens the door to misuse, just as my brother Magnus misused it. No. The Imperial Fists are loyal to the Emperor in all things. My father's decision is the final word.
If I may speak, I would offer a compromise, Lord Dorn.
Speak. I will hear you.
The librarian's instincts are strong, and they are correct. I came here for him. I will reveal Malkador's orders but to Brother Massac and no other. He will know if I am truthful.
And if I refuse?
Then, my lord, as you say, you will have my company until the stars burn cold. The interrogation chamber was no larger than the interior of an armored transport. Dull, featureless metal walls rose up to a ceiling studded with lumen orbs. A sluice grate in the center of the floor betrayed the spilling of blood that had often occurred here. Garrow and Massac stood opposite one another across the empty room. The former Death Guard was impassive, and as still as a statue. The Imperial Fist studied him, watching his face
almost
for
in
signs of
South
some
Shore now.
telltale micro-expression that might reveal Garrow's true intentions. Are we being monitored?
No. Even the Primarch cannot hear us in this place. Whatever you have to say to me, it shall be between us alone.
Garrow nodded. Tell me about the dreams, Massac. Of all the words he had thought to hear, the librarian had not expected that. Massac had spoken to no one of the disquieting images that had visited his meditating mind in recent weeks, growing more frequent with each passing day.
I do not dream.
We all do, kinsman. Perhaps not in the way that common men think of it, but we dream. And you, with your abilities, you dream very differently indeed. You haven't spoken of it, have you?
No.
Yet the Sigillite knows. And so do I. It troubled Massac greatly to know that his thoughts were open to others. But then Malkador was known as the greatest living psyker in the galaxy after the Emperor of mankind, and it was said any mind was as an open book to him.
I have dreamed of the skies of Terra filled with black warships, a baleful eye emblazoned upon them. Legions of malformed horrors in league with traitors laying waste to the planet. Atrocities, creatures the like of which have never been seen before in mortal realms.
Demons.
That word is good enough.
They are no mere fancy, no trick of the mind. They are real. With blunt, steady words, Garrow told the librarian of the insurrection spreading under Horus's hand. He revealed the whole bloody truth of it to him, seeing first shock, then revulsion, and finally fury warring across the legionary's face. I have fought these creatures, seen them born from the flesh of the dead. Your visions are...
The future, then?
A possibility. What you have seen is why I'm here. Garrow took a step closer, his manner sobering. The Sigillite sent me to retrieve you. Malkador seeks men of strength and honor for an endeavor that will defend the Imperium against such threats for millennia to come. He chose you, Massac. He chose you for a duty that goes beyond your loyalty to Rogal Dorn and the Imperial Fists. The Grey Warrior offered his gauntleted hand. Come with me, kinsman. Your seclusion will be at an end. Your power will be returned to you. Brother Massac looked down at Garrow's outstretched hand. He knew what the offer meant. A chance to end his isolation, to be useful again, to fight for the Imperium. But he shook his head, turning away.
Okay guys, I'm gonna stop here for now. Need to make some dinner soon. And thank you for watching. Gear Red Ridge. What do you mean, gear in Red Ridge? Time for bed. I have a quest for it. I do. Oh. No, I'm probably gonna disband or remove that quest, all the grey ones. Well, see you later, guys and girls. Probably gonna be online in 3-4 hours, maybe. So yeah, thank you. Until next time.